Hello and welcome to Elderly Rise, the channel where we honor the strength, grace, and wisdom that come with aging. If you're over 60, you've probably heard it all, that aging means slowing down, forgetting things, or becoming less sharp. But today we want to flip that idea on its head. Because what if we told you your mind is actually getting stronger with age? Yes, stronger. Not in the way you ran marathons or memorized phone numbers in your 20s, but in ways that truly matter: wisdom, emotional depth, and clear judgment. Modern psychology supports this. Studies show that older adults are often more emotionally stable, wiser, and better decision makers than their younger counterparts. You've lived, you've learned, and those lessons are shaping a stronger version of your mind every single day. So in this video, we're going to explore 7 psychological reasons why your mind becomes stronger as you age. Sit back, relax, and let's uncover the quiet mental power that grows with time, and that many people don't even realize they have. Number 1. As we grow older, there's something remarkable happening within us, something that doesn't get talked about enough. While society often focuses on physical changes like wrinkles or slower reflexes, what often goes unnoticed is the incredible expansion of wisdom happening in our minds. Unlike fleeting knowledge or memorized facts, wisdom is the ability to interpret, judge, and respond to life in a way that's rooted in experience, empathy, and reflection. It's not something you can read in a book or learn in a week. It's something you earn through living. Psychologists call this process the development of crystallized intelligence. Unlike fluid intelligence, which is about solving new problems quickly or remembering short-term details, crystallized intelligence is your ability to draw from the deep well of everything you've already learned. Life lessons, emotional patterns, relationships, consequences, and intuition. And the good news? Crystallized intelligence doesn't decline with age. In fact, it tends to increase well into our later years. It explains why older adults are often the best at giving advice, making judgments, and navigating complex life situations with calm confidence. Think about it. Over the decades, you've handled heartbreak, loss, change, success, disappointment, and joy. You've learned what to let go of, what to fight for, and when to be still. You've sat through storms and come out stronger on the other side. That kind of learning leaves a mark on the mind, not as something loud or flashy, but as quiet strength. The kind that doesn't panic easily, the kind that sees a bigger picture, the kind that chooses peace over drama, understanding over assumption. This accumulation of insight doesn't just make you smarter. It makes you wiser. It allows you to read between the lines in a conversation, to sense someone's pain behind their words, to understand a conflict without escalating it. Your decisions become more grounded, more thoughtful. You might not remember every name or date, but you remember what matters, the emotional truths and moral lessons that others are still struggling to learn. That's not forgetfulness, that's refined focus. So while younger minds may be faster, older minds are often deeper. They carry with them decades of emotional depth, layered understanding, and psychological resilience. In a world that often glorifies speed and novelty, your mind offers something far more valuable: perspective, meaning, and enduring wisdom. This is the foundation of your mental strength, and it's still growing even now. Number 2. As we grow older, one of the most remarkable strengths that quietly develops within us is the ability to regulate emotions more effectively. This isn't just about staying calm. It's a form of emotional intelligence that matures over time. It's the result of decades of living through joy, disappointment, love, loss, and hope. Unlike in youth, where reactions are often impulsive and emotions can run high, older adults tend to carry a quiet wisdom, born from experience. You've learned often through pain that not everything deserves a strong emotional reaction, and that is a powerful kind of growth. Psychological studies have shown that older adults exhibit lower amygdala activity in response to negative stimuli like anger or fear. In other words, the aging brain becomes more emotionally resilient. This is known as the positivity bias, where your brain naturally shifts focus toward positive experiences and pays less attention to negativity. This isn't avoidance, it's discernment. Your mind has learned that time and energy are too valuable to waste on things that can't be changed or simply don't matter as much anymore. Because of this, older individuals are often able to forgive faster, avoid unnecessary conflicts, and choose peace over ego. It's not that you've become passive. In fact, it's the opposite. You've outgrown the emotional patterns that once controlled you. Now you're in charge of your emotions. Many younger people haven't yet reached this point. They're still learning which emotions deserve their energy and which ones can be released. This emotional control also creates a kind of mental resilience. When life throws new challenges your way, such as the loss of loved ones, changes in your body, or shifts in your role within family or society, you're more equipped to adapt. You don't suppress sadness or regret, you process them with acceptance, a psychological skill that only deepens with lived experience. Psychologists call this emotional resilience, and it forms the bedrock of mental health in later life. In the end, your emotional strength lies not in how much you feel, but in how you respond to what you feel. When you're young, emotions are like storms, sudden, intense, and exhausting. But in older age, emotions become more like a spring breeze, still felt, but gentle, controlled, and warming. And this, perhaps, is one of the most profound reasons your mind grows stronger with age, because you've learned that peace is not a weakness, but the highest form of inner wisdom. Number 3. As we age, our ability to make decisions doesn't decline. In fact, it often improves. That's because older adults have an incredibly rich archive of life experience to draw from. They've been through it all: family challenges, financial decisions, personal losses, and meaningful milestones. Each of these moments adds layers of wisdom to how they approach a decision. When faced with a dilemma, they don't just ask, what makes sense logically, but also, what feels right on a deeper, more human level. Unlike in youth, when decisions are often fueled by impulse or social pressure, older adults tend to make choices based on deep reflection and finely tuned intuition. And this intuition isn't some vague feeling. It's shaped by years of observing patterns, learning from mistakes, and facing the real consequences of past decisions. Psychologists call this experience-based heuristics, the brain's ability to make quick yet accurate judgments based on familiar patterns. The result? Older adults often make decisions that are calmer, wiser, and more aligned with their core values. Not only that, decisions made in later life often carry a greater awareness of long-term impact, especially on relationships and personal integrity. Older adults tend to be less reactive and more thoughtful. They know when to speak, when to wait, and when to let go. Many families and communities look to their elders for guidance because their calm, grounded presence brings stability. In fact, in many cultures, including American society, grandparents are seen as the moral and emotional anchors of the family. These decisions are no longer just about the self. They're often made with the next generation in mind. At this stage of life, wisdom becomes less about what's best for me and more about what's right for the bigger picture. This is a level of psychological maturity that can only be earned through time and experience. And this is where aging becomes a gift, the ability to step back, see the whole picture, and make choices that serve peace and balance, not just urgency. So if you ever feel like the world is moving too fast, or that you're no longer up to date, remember this. Great decisions aren't about following trends. They're about knowing what's true and lasting, and that kind of insight only lives in a mind that has endured, learned, and grown from the long journey of life. You're not losing your thinking power. You're perfecting it. Number 4. As we grow older, there's a profound shift in how we see the world. A perspective change that can't be bought or read in a book. It only comes through living a full life. When we're younger, life often revolves around chasing big dreams, building careers, accumulating wealth, gaining recognition. Time feels endless, like we can spend it without consequence. But as we age and begin to view life from a place of reflection and experience, our sense of what truly matters starts to evolve. We begin asking ourselves, what is really important? What once felt urgent, the promotions, the bigger homes, the social status, slowly loses its grip. In its place, new values emerge: emotional closeness, inner peace, meaningful relationships, and the simple joys that give life true meaning. This isn't giving up on life. It's the result of a mind that has matured enough to sift through the noise. We come to understand that the quality of time matters far more than the quantity, and that happiness is often found in the small moments we once overlooked. In a world that constantly demands more, faster, louder, the ability to slow down and focus on the essence of life becomes a powerful form of psychological strength. We no longer react to everything. We no longer fight every battle. We choose peace over pride, connection over competition. This shift doesn't make us weak. It makes us wise. Our minds stop chasing and start appreciating. That's not a decline. That's a deeper kind of growth. Psychologists refer to this as part of socio-emotional selectivity theory. The idea that as people grow older, they begin to prioritize emotionally meaningful goals and relationships. We become more selective with how and where we spend our time. And it's not because we're shrinking socially, it's because we now understand the true value of our time and energy. We've learned that peaceful living, honest relationships, and quiet meaning matter far more than outside approval. So when someone asks, what changes as you age? The real answer is this: your mind begins to recognize what truly matters. And that is a strength youth can't offer. It's the strength of clarity, of priorities sharpened by life, of wisdom earned through years. This isn't the end. It's the beginning of a life lived with greater purpose, peace, and truth. Number 5. As we grow older, many of us notice that we become far more attuned to the feelings and needs of others. This isn't just the result of life experience. It's a natural development of social intelligence. You begin to see patterns in human behavior: when to speak, when to listen, and when simply being present is enough. In younger years, we tend to be reactive, eager to prove ourselves or be heard. But now you understand that understanding matters more than convincing, and that listening is often more powerful than replying. Psychologists refer to this as interpersonal wisdom, a deeper, quieter intelligence in how we relate to others. It's not just about being nice or friendly, but about sensing motivation, reading unspoken emotion, and responding with quiet empathy. You begin to see that every person carries their own wounds, hopes, and private battles. And because you've been in many of those places yourself, you don't judge, you understand. This kind of wisdom isn't learned in books. It grows from time, experience, and intentional presence. You also become more selective about who you allow into your emotional space, not because you're closed off, but because you've learned that emotional energy is a precious resource. You steer away from drama, meaningless chatter, and superficial bonds. Instead, you prefer authenticity, peaceful silence, or conversations that nourish the soul. All of this shows that your social intelligence hasn't just grown. It's been refined into something clearer, calmer, and wiser. Interestingly, research shows that older adults are often better at resolving interpersonal conflict. That's because you're no longer driven by ego or the need to win arguments. You're focused on keeping peace. You know when to speak, when to hold back, and when to simply forgive. At this stage in life, you've come to realize that not every battle needs to be fought. Sometimes inner peace is more valuable than being right. And it's in this ability that your social strength shines most clearly, not in dominance, but in grace. So when people talk about intelligence, they rarely mention that social intelligence in later life is often deeper and stronger than in youth. But you've earned it through love, loss, forgiveness, conflict, and lasting connection. That's why your presence can calm a room. Your advice is sought by your children and grandchildren, and your hug can ease a weary heart. Not because age has weakened you, but because age has strengthened the way you connect with the world. Number 6. As we grow older, our thoughts are no longer filled with the noise of ambition or urgency like they once were in our younger years. Instead, older adults tend to reflect more deeply on the journey they've taken. This isn't about getting stuck in the past. It's about making sense of who we've become. Psychologists refer to this as a life review, a meaningful process of looking back on life events, relationships, and decisions. Through this reflection, we begin to strengthen our sense of identity in a way that feels richer and more authentic. The more we revisit our life experiences, the more we begin to see the meaning behind them. We realize that every event, whether painful or joyful, wasn't random. Each one was a part of a greater story, a story that shaped who we are today. Reflection gives us the space to forgive our failures, to honor our successes, and to find peace in the idea that life doesn't have to be perfect to be deeply beautiful. It's not about escaping reality. It's about learning to draw inner strength from the life we've already lived. Many older adults say they know themselves better at 70 or 80 than they ever did at 30, and that makes perfect sense. With time, old wounds begin to heal, the ego softens, and we start to hear the true voice of our inner self. We understand what really matters to us, not because someone else told us, but because we've lived it ourselves. Reflection deepens that understanding and helps form a more grounded, resilient sense of identity, one that isn't easily shaken by the opinions of others. Reflection also gives us the power to pass on meaning. Many older adults feel a growing desire to share their life lessons with the next generation, not through lectures, but through stories. Stories about how they got back up after falling, about courage in hard decisions, about love that endured across decades. From this comes a kind of identity that is not only strong within, but also a source of strength for others. It's a quiet, invisible kind of power, but one that resonates deeply. In the end, reflection is not just about the past. It's a spiritual process that unites who we were, who we are, and who we wish to be remembered as. There is no age limit on self-discovery, and in many ways, it's in our later years that we finally see. We have grown into someone stronger, gentler, and wiser than we ever imagined. This is the power of reflection, a kind of mental strength that doesn't fade with age, but instead grows brighter as the years go on. Number 7. As we grow older, many of us begin to experience a powerful inner shift, one that isn't talked about enough. It's the quiet movement toward simplicity. What once seemed urgent or important, like status, speed, or social validation, loses its grip. In its place comes a mental clarity that chooses depth over distraction. This isn't because we're giving up or slowing down. It's because our minds are getting better at focusing on what truly matters. Psychologists call this selective optimization, our brain's natural ability to conserve energy by focusing attention only on what gives meaning. This ability to simplify is not a cognitive loss, but a cognitive refinement. Younger minds are often pulled in many directions, juggling tasks, comparing paths, and seeking identity. Older minds, however, have the advantage of lived experience. You've already tested many roads, succeeded in some, failed in others, and most importantly, you've learned. That learning allows you to instinctively filter out the noise, distractions, and emotional chaos that once clouded your focus. You no longer feel the need to chase every trend or win every argument. That clarity, it's a quiet kind of brilliance. What's especially profound is that simplicity enhances decision-making and emotional peace. When you strip away what doesn't matter, your mental space becomes clearer. Decisions are made with confidence. Conversations become more meaningful, and daily life feels less chaotic. You start choosing activities, relationships, and routines that nourish your soul. You know who deserves your time and who doesn't. You prioritize rest over rushing, presence over performance. That's not because you're tired, it's because you're wise. Simplicity also makes room for deeper appreciation. You begin to notice the small things, the light filtering through your window in the morning, the way a grandchild laughs, the calm that comes after a warm cup of tea. These moments, often overlooked in youth, become sources of joy and insight. Your brain, less occupied by clutter and stimulation, becomes more attuned to the beauty of being. This doesn't mean life is always easy, but it does mean that your mind has grown more resilient, more grateful, and more grounded. In the end, simplicity isn't a loss, it's a reward. It's the result of years of learning what works and what doesn't. It's the outcome of a mind that has weathered life's chaos and emerged with a deeper sense of peace and direction. While society may idolize youth for its energy, it should admire aging for its clarity. So if you find yourself enjoying a slower pace, deeper thoughts, and more meaningful days, know this: your mind isn't shrinking. It's becoming beautifully efficient, and that is one of aging's greatest gifts. As the years pass, many people focus on what the body may lose, but they forget what the mind continues to gain. Your thoughts are deeper now. Your responses are wiser. Your presence carries a kind of peace that only time can teach. This is not decline, it's refinement. Your life has shaped your mind into something truly powerful, and no one can take that away. You've endured hardship, joy, change, and stillness, and through it all, your mind has become resilient, calm, and centered. In a fast-moving world that often values speed over depth, your strength is your steady wisdom. The ability to see the big picture, to forgive more easily, to stay grounded in what matters most. These aren't just soft traits. They're the marks of a strong and evolved mind. So, the next time someone assumes aging means fading, remind yourself, you are not fading, you are rising. This is Elderly Rise, and we believe that every year adds value to your inner strength. Your journey isn't behind you, it's within you, stronger than ever. And that is something to celebrate every single day. If this message touched your heart or reminded you of your own strength, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to Elderly Rise, and share it with someone who might need a little encouragement today. Your support helps us continue creating thoughtful, empowering content for the senior community. Because your voice, your story, and your journey deserve to be heard and celebrated.